Yesterday we completed IKV16 message exchanges, right? And let me tell you the summary once again so that you guys can recall all those things, whatever we discussed yesterday. Are you guys going through the videos and the documents properly? Shall I ask you a few questions? Because interview perspective, I already told you, this IPsec is very much important. It will play a vital role to crack your interviews. Okay. So tell me, in which message exchange your NAT discovery message is exchanged? In which message exchange NAT discovery is basically exchanged?
Message 3 and 4.
Correct. And if any translated device is detected in between, then from which message exchange NAT is applied?
Last two messages.
5 and 6. Okay. And what would be the port number used by the NAT?
4500.
TCP or UDP?
UDP.
Okay. So whenever the messages are exchanged, from which message exchange the authentication and encryption starts?
1 and 2.
Let's suspect the correct answer. Let's see how many of you give the correct answer. From which
Okay.
message exchange the encryption and the authentication happens?
Okay, it's the last two messages. 5 and 6.
I hope you are giving a half right answer. Okay. All of you guys are giving a half right answer. Okay, let me correct myself. After which message exchange or in which message exchange the encryption starts, and after which message exchange the authentication completes. Authentication completes.
Encryption start from message number 5 and the authentication gets totally completed in message number 6.
Okay. So here you get a little bit confused. Why? Because what I meant over here was different and what you understood was different. Okay, let me explain you. See, what I was trying to tell you, it was not about message 3 and message 4, not about the Diffie-Hellman. I tried telling you in 5 and the message 6, the authentication is not still happened. They are exchanging the identities with each other. They are proving the identities with each other, but still the identities, based on the identities, the authentication has not been completed. They are not completely authenticated, right? Encryption gets started with the 5th and the 6th message exchange. The entire authentication, completion of the authentication happens after completing 5th and the 6th message. So once the identity gets exchanged between the two sides, then it's known as a complete identification. So if any rejections has to happen, that will happen with the 5th and the 6th message exchange itself. Right. In the identification part, if any mistake is there, if any error is there, then the identification will not happen. That identification part, which is carried in 5th and 6th message exchange, is basically encrypted, which is encrypted by the Diffie-Hellman key, which was shared in a 3rd and the 4th message exchange. So that was my concern, which I was trying to tell you. Am I clear to everyone?
Sir, actually, sir, let me ask you something. The last messages 5 and 6, they are trying to exchange the identity and the authentication, right? So once this
Identity itself is the authentication. Okay, it's not a two different thing. It's the same thing that you are talking. Okay.
Let me be more specific. The last 5th packet is actually sending the public IP address of the center and along with the pre-shared key. Am I correct or not? Only the pre-shared key.
Actually, that public key is used to encrypt the pre-shared key which is being shared between the two sides. Okay.
So my question is, like when we configure the crypto map, the first phase one command, we configure a command like this: mm, uh, crypto map pre-shared key. We put the pre-shared key and a peer IP address. So
Correct.
that peer IP address will send it in the fifth message or not? So is that the identification, or it's a pre-shared keys identification? This is my
No,
question.
actually, you see, uh, identification would be an IP address, okay, which we basically use to transmit in the fifth and the sixth message section. See here, I'll clear it. I guess here I have mentioned or not. I guess in aggressive mode I have shown you. Now see this. This is an aggressive mode. Okay, let me tell you about the aggressive mode. Then you will get the answer of your question as well. Okay, Sriram. Let's
Yes, yes.
in aggressive mode. What happens? There are three things compared to main mode. Let's say I'm comparing the aggressive mode with the main mode. Right. In a main mode, what was in the first message exchange?
Security associations.
Correct. So proposal was from the initiator, the first message, right? Proposal was there. And we used to get a reply in the second message exchange from the other side. We used to get a agree upon that. Now we used to send a third message exchange, which was generated basically a Diffie-Hellman, and it was a nonce value, including, and the fourth message was basically again the same value being, I mean, like the same thing exchanged by the other site also, right? Fifth message was on a part of identity, right? And here the sixth message again, this also part covers the identity. Now if I compare with a main mode, in a main mode, what is a good part, that this Diffie-Hellman and the nonce is actually shared previously before it shares the identity. But compared to the aggressive mode, what happens in the first message exchange? In the first message exchange itself, this is the first message exchange. This is the first message exchange, and this is the second message exchange in your aggressive mode. So what do we see? In the aggressive mode, we see that proposal, Diffie-Hellman, nonce value, and the identity is in the clear text. I mean, like, identity is in the clear text. It means in the first message exchange itself, the aggressive mode is sharing all these three parameters, right? And in the second message, the responder will respond back with all these three parameters. Yes, a Haggle process, including with Diffie-Hellman and the identity, which I compared with the main mode. These are the three messages which initiator will send, right, in the main mode, and these are the three messages which a responder will send. It's an initiator according to main mode, and this is a responder according to the main mode, which responses and exchanges the six message exchanges. And after that, the real authentication gets occurred between the two sides. That's what we have seen till now. Now, guys, tell me, while exchanging the first message exchange itself, the initiator does not have, I'm discussing about the aggressive mode right now. Do not confuse. In aggressive mode, in a first message exchange itself, proposal, Diffie-Hellman along with nonce, and the identity is being exchanged. It means the initiator is not having the responder's Diffie-Hellman key, the public key with him. It means this identity will not be protected. Are you guys getting this point? It means this identity will not get protected. Right. Okay. So if I capture this packet, means I can see the identity that I'm trying to exchange a data with. Let's see. In the aggressive mode. Now these are the three parameters. SPI parameters you can already see here. And we have already seen what's under the security association in the main mode. So I'm not digging inside the security association because the page would be very long. So I just, I just escaped this association part. So you guys already know this security association part will be covering your payloads, which basically shares the transform payload under which we have all the parameters. Right. After that, you can see it's a kind of a payload, which is key exchange payload, which includes a nonce value number along with the key exchange data, and you can see the nonce data. So this is according to main mode, it's a third message exchange. And here you can see, here is the identity part. Now this is an identity part, which you can see, it's a ID, IPv4 address. Now this is under the identity. Sriram, are you getting the clarification over here?
Yes, yes. So basically, identity means the IP address, right?
IP address here, okay, which
Yeah,
is
okay.
basically exchanged, right? So this is what being exchanged between here. Okay, but you know what is the use of the key that we use a Cisco? Don't you think that's also a part of identification?
That is the authentication, right? So if I'm not correct, if I'm not wrong.
That's authentication. What authentication? What does the authentication do? It tells you it tells you also like who you are, right? So basically, once you're authenticated, then only you know actually that I'm authenticated or I'm identified with the correct person. Okay. Okay, fine. Let's continue. You understood this part, right? Identification. This part is clear,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I understood. My confusion is the in the main mode, the last 5 and 6 messages.
Hmm.
There we are actually sharing the identification plus the pre-shared key. That is the authentication, right?
That
That's
is
my doubt.
basically, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically the authentication part, which is occurring over here, the identification and the, the authentication part, both are happening in the fifth and the sixth message. Okay.
It's clear now.
Ah. Okay. So guys, here we understood that we have this first message and this second message. Now, once they exchange these parameters with each other, then they'll have the Diffie-Hellman key with each other, right? It means a Diffie-Hellman shared with the initiator and Diffie-Hellman shared with the responder. Now the message exchange, what happens between them, right? It's basically encrypted. So somewhere you might have seen, I have heard multiple times with multiple guys by giving an explanation like aggressive mode does not support encryption. How many of you agreed upon this? The aggressive mode does not support the encryption. How many of you agree upon this?
It support encryption.
Hold on, guys. Say this clarification you guys will get from here itself. You can say this is the second message exchange of the aggressive mode. You have the second message in the aggressive mode, and here you will see the same thing being exchanged, right? And then you can see
So before you skip, let me see that, sir.
haha,
If you the last one, the type payload hash bracket 8, that is the pre-shared key, right?
correct, 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 correct.
Okay, okay, okay.
Now here you can see after once it gets exchanged, you can see now the data gets encrypted. So do not say that aggressive does not support the encryption. That's not the valid answer. The major, I told you at the beginning, the major reason that you should show why aggressive mode is not secure compared to the main mode, then this is the exact answer that you should give. Full identity protection protects against your passive, right? Yes, that's the correct answer that you need to tell. You need to say identity is passed in the clear text, and here the identities will be fully protected. Now that's the reason. Okay, so guys, we are done with phase one. So we completed our phase one, and we also come in the phase one we completed main mode, and we also we completed aggressive mode. We had seen all these differences. So guys, am I clear with all these parameters with you?
So let me ask you something about this.
Hmm.
In which scenarios we apply this main mode and aggressive mode? Because aggressive mode is totally insecure because our identities and the pre-shared keys are being open. We can see that. So in which scenarios we have to apply all this?
See, I haven't gone through such scenarios. I haven't seen in a real time. I have implemented also multiple cases. But as per my understanding, now let's say wherever you need a quicker message exchanges, now let's say that's a quicker, it exchanges it's a faster session establishment. Now let's say when a rekey occurs, at that time, if I want the faster session establishment, at that case, the aggressive mode will be used. But again, the question mark is there. Why would I put my network in the unsecure mode, right? So aggressive mode we basically don't use in a real time. If you ask me with the real experiences, I would not tell you to go with the aggressive mode, right? Now let's say I'll give you one more example. Now you need to answer me in a IPsec. In a IPsec, why? See here in this question, you will get the answer of the aggressive mode as well. Why would you use ESP and why would you use AH? I know ESP is the secure one. It supports the encryption and the hash. Why AH? Why did they include the AH? Did they tell you to implement AH in a real time?
No,
What's the reason behind implementing the AH inside the IPsec?
because when we use AH, it is totally unencrypted. We can see the identities.
I can
Yeah.
see what is basically being shared, who is my identity, everything will be shared. It will also show you all the headers, including with, the what basically all the encapsulated part will be shown, right? So inside that ESP, what were the headers encrypted? What were the headers? Those parts will be reflected inside the AH, right? Now, you could also see in an aggressive mode, one reason could be message exchange is the faster over here. Second reason you can see the identity part is visible. So I can easily identify, I can see that identity part is not encrypted. Let's say I want to verify, I want to know who exactly is the identity with whom I'm going to exchange. I could use the aggressive mode, right? But if I reveal the identity part, that is not the secure way of communication. That is not basically supposed to be revealed to anyone. So that's basically a part what we say here. Okay, and along with that also you have seen the identity part along with the hash value that we exchange for the authentication purpose, right? That is also there, which is basically encrypted with the Diffie-Hellman key, right? So those are the secure things that has to be secured inside the fifth and the sixth message exchange, which is basically not encrypted in the aggressive mode. So these are the few reasons. I'll check if I have any more, then I'll let you know regarding this. Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so our fifth and the sixth, I mean, like the main mode and the aggressive mode, these are done. Now we need to discuss about what's basically under the aggressive mode. Sorry, your quick mode. We need to answer. So tell me, guys, what's under the quick mode? What happens with the quick mode? Any idea?
In quick mode also we have the security association, and it's basically trying to protect the data through the tunnel.
Okay, let me clear it. See, in some of the vendors, you will see even for the phase 2, you have you have to elect. I mean, like you have to select the. You can select. I mean, like you have the advantage to select like what Diffie-Hellman or what hashing method you'll be using for the phase 2, right? You can see even in the Cisco, you can see that you have ESP and the AH. We can see like what's the encryption and what's the hashing method that we are going to implement for the phase 2 tunnel. But understand the key that is required to encrypt the data in a phase 2 basically comes from the phase 1 negotiation itself. It's not from the phase 2 negotiation. Okay. Some of the vendors you will see that you do have the ability to define the Diffie-Hellman for the phase 2 also, but some of the vendors you will not see. Now, in the case of Palo Alto, you will see that you can define the Diffie-Hellman for the phase 2 as well. It gives you an ability to define the phase 2 for the Diffie-Hellman as well. But in Cisco, you don't get such thing. Now, coming to like checkpoint, checkpoint also you get. All right. In FortiGate, you don't get. In the FortiGate, you get the same thing what you get in a Cisco. Let's say for the phase 2 to define the encryption and the hashing of your choice, right? So those things can be implemented over here. So basically the phase 2 data, whatever is being in, the exchange between the two sides, those all are encrypted. That's the first thing. Second thing, in a phase 2 tunnel, right, when they create a phase 2 tunnel, they basically check the SPI parameters. The SPI parameters which are basically exchanged in the first message exchange of your main mode, those are getting a re-verified in the quick mode. In the quick mode, initiator will re-verify the responder's SPI parameter, and responder will verify the initiator's parameters, and then the real data will be exchanged. And once this 3 message exchanges happens, after that you guys will see the ESP protocol coming into a picture. Okay, so after this, whatever the real data is being exchanged, see guys, always understand your main mode is not known for exchanging a real data. Now in a sort, they might ask you, what is the main mode used for? Tell me what's the reason, what's the answer that you guys are going to give me. What is the main mode used for? Uh, I mean, like, what is the phase 1? main mode used for? What's the reason of your phase one? Tell me, guys. What happens in the phase one?
Phase one basically focus on exchanging the development keys.
So in short, you can say key exchange happens in phase one, and phase two is responsible for a real data exchange, you can say. Okay, but here in my sense, what I mean here is quick. See, phase two is responsible for exchanging the real data. That I agree. But phase two real data exchange will happen when? In which scenario? In which condition the real data will start exchanging between the two sites? After the quick mode comes up. Always understand, once the quick mode comes up, then only the real data will be exchanged between the two sites by encrypting with the protocol as a ESP. Understand, if quick mode is not up, if there is some error, then your real data will not be exchanged. So see, just for, let's say, as you are telling, in a phase one we are doing a key exchange, but in that key exchange, what we say, multiple meanings are hidden, multiple things are hidden, right? To exchange the key, first of all we exchange the haggle process, right? So multiple things are hidden. The same thing happens in a phase two. When you say phase two is responsible for carrying a data, that's true, but you also need to clarify that phase two comes up when your quick mode three message exchanges are exchanged. Right, so this is how you guys need to tell. And these three message exchanges we can see with packet capturing. We'll do a lab. In that lab we can capture the packet and we can see how these things are working. Okay, and the default lifetime on the Cisco ASA firewall, guys, I am not telling about all the firewalls, be very clear. All the firewalls does not give you the same thing. Okay, all the firewalls does not give you the same time. Let's say if I talk about the Cisco's FTD firewall, in the Cisco FTD firewall, phase 2 tunnel is configured for how many hours? Who has answer for this? Phase 2 tunnel, tell me, by what's our time?
Can you repeat the question, sir, please?
My question is, in Cisco routers or Cisco ASA firewall, we see phase 2 default timer as a 1 hour, right?
Correct.
You don't configure a time also, it will take by default 1 hour. But when you configure the same thing on the FTD, you will see a different time given in the FTD for the phase 2 tunnel. Have you guys noticed that?
No.
Okay. Try once the phase 2 tunnel configuration on the FTD firewall. Let me check if I have that, if I have taken the screenshot. On Palo Alto also you will have 8 hours given for the phase 2. FTD, just a minute. I haven't completed the entire part. Guys, here you see, right? Here you see you have a IKE that you configure for the phase 1, and here you have the IPsec that you configure for the phase 2, right? In your FTD. In this phase 2 configuration, have you noticed what's basically a time given for the phase 2 tunnel? Anyone
No.
noticed? It's your task. Check. If I compare the same thing with the Palo Alto firewall, I guess in the Palo Alto I have taken the screenshot. Hold on. Site to site VPN. Okay, I have directly attached the profile, that profile that we use. Okay. I just edited it. Okay. I have edited it. These are few pre-configured one. But when you go for the configuration, right, when you go for the configuration, it will show you the different timers over there. Okay. That profile, I'll take a screenshot. I'll show you guys. Okay. So in a Cisco ASA firewall or the Cisco routers, your by default the phase 2 time, the timer will be 1 hour. Okay, this is what you need to tell. Okay, guys, now it's time to do the practical. We'll see all these things practically and we'll understand. So our first task is the first lab today. What we are going to see is a site-to-site VPN. Guys, we'll see a site-to-site VPN that will be your policy based. Okay, and it will be your we'll see site to site VPN that will be policy based, and will apply the IPsec as a security with IKEV1. Be very much specific. So when I say site to site VPN means it will be between the two sites. When I say policy based means what? What does that mean, guys? Policy based means what? In the beginning of class, I told you what's a policy based. So what ACL is going to do here? What ACL is going to do here?
Basically, ACL is the trigger for starting the tunnels when the traffic matches.
So whenever the traffic matches your yes, your interesting traffic, whenever the ACL matches with the traffic, it understands that the traffic has to be taken to your tunnel. It's a tunnel traffic. That's your policy based. So ACL decides what traffic will pass through the tunnel. If it does not match the ACL, your device understands it's not a tunnel traffic, right? So this is what we are going to do this, I mean like practical, and it will be between iOS devices, between routers. First we'll see between the routers, then we'll see between ASA and a router, right? And once you see between AS and router, here you will come to see the ASA configuration as well and the router configuration as well. Now I'll give you the task that you guys have to create. I'll give you the topology and you have to create a tunnel between two different ASA firewalls. between ASA and ASA 2. So this is how you guys have to do. And after this, we'll see NAT T. So these are our, the practicals that we guys are going to see. And all these four VPNs, will be based on your site-to-site VPN policy based, and it will implement the security as a IPsec with IKEv1. And after this, we'll see overlapping. Has anyone idea what the overlapping? What's the overlapping is?
No.
This overlapping also we'll see based on the IKEv1. Okay, but you guys can apply anything, IKEv2, even all these things you can apply. Even all these things can be done with IKEv2. We'll see those things with the IKEv2 also. See, this overlapping NAT-T, everything we are not going to say with IKEv2. Okay, if we do so, it will be a huge thing. See, overlapping, it's like same private IP address on both the sides. Pawan, correct answer. So in a real time, these scenarios you will see when you go for the interview. If you go as a experienced people, if you say I'm experienced people, at that time definitely 100% they will ask you these questions, guys. As experienced people on the VPN profile, if you guys are going, then they will definitely ask you this question. Tell me they might ask you the scenario based question, like between the two sites I have a same private subnet and I need to create the tunnel. So is it possible to create? If you say yes, they might ask you the reason. And what's the reason? So in one word, you can say the solution is overlapping. Now, what's overlapping? They might ask you again. So we'll see in that particular chapter. And this overlapping is not included in your syllabus. It's not present. So by looking on your interview perspective also, I'm making you prepared, guys. Okay. So these are our topics that we are going to cover. So today is the Thursday, right? We'll continue the other. Today we'll see between the routers. Others we'll see between ASAs and all this stuff we'll see next week. So let's complete this lab.
One question. Where we are covering the FTD VPN configuration, because I attended the FTD classes, but we haven't covered the VPN for FTD. Are we going to cover on this session also for FTD?
How come in FTD you haven't covered a site-to-site VPN?
No, we haven't covered. Amit sir he hasn't covered.
Okay, no issues. See, that FTD VPN will not be done here, okay, because this is a complete VPN class. So I'll see if I get a time. It won't take much time, but the time takes with the deployment itself, okay, to deploy FTD, FMC, everything, right? So I'll see if I get a time, I'll show you.
So if you have a video, you can just share me.
I have video. Yeah, I have video.
Okay, that is fine for me. No problem.
What happened to EVNG? Come on. Set. Oh, it came. Mhm. Guys, I have to restart my PC once. You guys be online. Okay, let me check. I have to restart. You guys be online. I'll be back in just a moment.